Hi, everyone. I'm Ellen Gray, and I'm part of a collective of positive educators and positive psychologists who call ourselves Resilience Now for Parents. And we have come together since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic to figure out how we can help parents, teachers, administrators, other educators, students of all ages through this very stressful time and using the tools and practices of positive psychology and positive education. And so we've been meeting once a week. We're a very active collective. We actually released a book to help students go back to school well. And we're all about well-being. And today I'm going to be interviewing here on Zoom Anita Andersen, who is a school counselor in the Niskayuna, New York School District, and she's also a life coach. And she's part of our collective. And so this is a part of a series that we're doing, hearing from the ground, hearing from the field how educators and parents and students are navigating through this difficult time. And today, Anita is going to tell us about an initiative that she's um, very excited about, and so are we, uh, which uses positive psychology to help students, help young people, um, and and also help parents and also help teachers. So it's a win-win-win. So hi, Anita. Great to see you today.
Hello, Ellen. It's great to be here.
Wonderful. And for those watching, today is between Christmas and New Year's of 2020. We're at the end of the year. It's the 28th of December. So you'll get a little context. And so um, we're on brain break from our collective, but Anita's brain is always working. And so tell us, Anita, a little bit about what motivated you to start this initiative and to pilot it.
Um, the inspiration for this came over a series of a number of months. Initially, as COVID was unfolding, I was attending a number of meetings where people were trying to get their brains around how to best support students and families. So I was on a committee in my district where I was really listening to some of the experiences that parents were having with their children, particularly with young teens, what some of their concerns were. I was in a number of meetings with social workers in my district that were trying to determine how to best serve young people and what some of their concerns were and what they were seeing in terms of the preteens and teens. I also was working with this group and really hearing the people in our collective talk about their various roles and their concerns about what was happening with teenagers. And I had the opportunity this summer, or I chose to study and get my positive ed certification this summer. And in that opportunity, and during that learning opportunity, I was meeting with people from around the world. And in particular, as I was hearing administrators and teachers talk about teenagers and elementary students, it was really standing out to me how concerned they were about the teenagers and their well-being.
Mhm.
And being in the class this summer to get my positive ed certification, I started really learning and relearning some of the concepts. Some of the positive psychology practices are very powerful. and they really do inform well-being, and they don't take a lot of time. And I think that's where that idea started to germinate. And I started to think about, well, what if the teenagers could teach the younger children these practices? Wouldn't it, based on the research, wouldn't it inform their well-being, give them a sense of agency, and also a sense of connection between the teens and the young children? And so the idea was kind of born this past summer.
Yeah, I love this on so many levels, Anita. You are truly modeling practicing empathy and compassion, especially at this difficult time. You obviously listened hard to what was going on to in for students of every age, for parents, for teachers, and recognize the suffering, which is the first step in practicing compassion, and also said, how can I help? What do I know? What can I learn more about that could really, really make a difference? And so tell us more about what you did.
Well, in August, I started writing a proposal. And initially I thought, okay, I'm going to take the proposal and I'll submit it to my district. And as we were returning to school, just the tasks at hand really were quite monumental in terms of, the physicality of getting kids back to school safely. And we did certainly provide lessons, developed as a team. My colleagues in the district and I developed lessons to welcome children back and provide for them in terms of those kinds of offerings. But when I wrote the proposal, I ran it by one of our colleagues, who's Sandy Brower, and I said, what do you think of this? And she thought the idea had merit, and she thought that districts, not just Niskuna, but districts in the area could benefit from that kind of a model. But I just didn't feel like anybody was in a place to receive another proposal with everything that was going on. And so I kind of outlined the proposal, and then I thought, this isn't the right time to propose anything else. And so I kind of sat on the proposal, and then I waited a couple of months, and then there became an opportunity. And the opportunity was, there were some students that were at home learning virtually. And I got a referral from another colleague to provide an offering for the virtual students. And I thought, you know what? I don't think a traditional counseling offering is what's needed here. I actually think that these kids that they were talking to me about would benefit far more from an offering that had to do with well-being practices. And so I approached a counselor in my district, and I asked him about the availability of a teen. And she had also been in touch with me because she had wanted to work on a number of different things. And so I talked with the teen, and I said, I'm thinking about providing this for fifth graders, but I would really want the teens to be the ones that teach these concepts. Would you be interested? And she was not only interested, she was just really enthusiastic.
Yeah, it's a whole other layer of helping. We know that teaching is how we learn best. And so providing an opportunity for teens to learn well-being practices by teaching the younger kids is it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So tell us how that went.
Well, honestly, it's been nothing short of amazing. I met with 2 teenagers, and then as luck would have it, and you know how those things go, it wasn't really luck. It's something bigger than luck. A college intern was also working at the middle school, and she was interested, and it turned out one of her professors had phys ed background. So she had also had some positive education in her training as a college student. And the middle school student had had some phys ed curriculum, having formerly attended Hillside School. And so we had some planning meetings, and the planning meetings were kind of, I said, I'd like us to kind of teach the kids at least 3 different practices: gratitude practice, optimism as a practice, and kindness as a practice. And then we did some brainstorming around how we could do that. Okay. So the way that it actually worked is when we would meet with the 5th grade students, I would do a very short message around the research behind whatever practice we were teaching. And then the middle school student would model how we could potentially implement that practice. So if I was teaching gratitude, for example, we'd talk about Seligman and Livermorsky's work. And you would think that that would be the big snooze, but the kids were very, very interested in the actual research. They really wanted to know how this works.
Wow.
And so then the middle school student really role modeled, okay, here's when you could do a gratitude practice. Here's when I'm going to fit it in. And she did such a beautiful job saying, here are the times in my life that I think that this would work, or I think it would be suitable. And then from there, the 5th graders would say, okay, this is when we think we're going to try this practice.
Awesome.
And we met once a week for just a half an hour. And then as we continued on, in the beginning, we would do a check-in about the practice and what their experience was like. And then the teenager and the college students started giving me feedback on what could make it more fun. And they really took it from there. And once they had a handle on kind of the first couple of sessions, then they said, well, you know what, if we're going to teach kindness, then maybe we could develop a bingo game, because that would be more fun. And the college intern and the middle school student developed a bingo game. And honestly, I was really blown away by what they did, because there are kindness bingo games and there are kindness scavenger hunts, but I love what they did on many levels. I feel like a number of these were very preteen friendly, like activities that preteens would enjoy. And you can see on this kind of bingo that you're sharing that they also had a number of items that had to do with self-compassion or kindness to self. And I thought that that was just marvelous. It says, set up a calm corner in your room for your own self-kindness. And another one was, write a happy note to yourself. And the 5th graders gravitated towards those self-kindness practices. And they reported in the following weeks that they had selected some of those. And that they felt, and they reported an improvement in well-being from selecting those items.
Awesome.
It really was awesome. Because again, when we talk about self-compassion and the importance of self-compassion, I think a lot of what happens in this field is people say, oh, yeah, that's important, but that's where it ends. And for the children to really experience that and experience that at this age, and begin to recognize that even a moment of gratitude can inform their well-being. Even a moment of self-compassion or kindness to self can inform their well-being. I continually am awestruck by the results of that.
Yeah. And, what you're describing, the principles, the practices are fairly simple, but they're so powerful. And you really magnified the power by inviting the teenagers, the college students, to make these practices relevant, and for them to listen to the younger kids, and to find out what would be applicable in their lives, what would be relevant in their lives, and to turn it into a fun way of learning and practicing. That's really how you amplified um, these practices and these principles. And that's very, very powerful. It's very,
Well, they have so much to contribute. And so on the Kindo Bingo, they named it Rizwat. It's created by Rizwat, and that's their last names combined. And I think that they also they felt proud of what they created too, and what they offered in terms of capturing really what this work is.
yeah, yeah, certainly. It's adorable. I love the sons with the sunglasses. So
I
cute.
mean, the whole thing is, and you can 5 in a row for a kind of happy day. So we ended up with snow here, significant snowfall. So our last group, we have not had yet, because this was over a period of 6 weeks. And we were going to have a last group to see if people got 5 in a row and celebrate that. And the kids in the group too, they also, besides having the positive ed curriculum in their back pockets and having familiarity already with some of the character strengths because of the work we've done at Hillside School, they also had some experience with journaling, because it was something that I had piloted with them in last year. And so we combined both. So we did the group offering, but then each time we finished, I would give a potential journal prompt, which, so again, that's another practice that's kind of woven in, and it was optional. They could draw a picture of being in gratitude, or they could draw a picture or write something about how they felt, with the kind. So they did know that you were going to interview me today. And so I did ask them to tell me, what their experience was. So would you like to hear a quote from one of the kids?
Would love to.
So one of the students said, I enjoyed, this is her comment on Kindo Bingo.
Okay.
I enjoy the activities that involve taking care of myself. It made me feel a lot better, because I was able to calm myself down both mentally and physically. That's a fifth grader saying that.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
When talking about the overall group experience,
Yeah.
another student said, I'm more satisfied, and I notice that I'm more observant.
Hmm.
And of course, when you're teaching about a gratitude practice, and I think a lot of people in the field know that, but it begins to rewire the brain. But the fact that she's capturing that by making those comments, she's talking about the beginning stages of that happening.
Right. Yeah. We're hearing this year so much about the lost year. Uh,
Yeah.
and when I hear that, I think, well, they may be referring to academic progress, but I think there's been so much that kids and parents and teachers have gained if they really stop and think on the social and emotional level.
Yeah.
The resilience that's been built, the rewiring our brains, in terms of the practicing gratitude, the introspection, knowing how to label and deal with our emotions, and those quotes really are examples of all of the growth that really has been happening and continues to happen this year. So I don't see it as lost. I see it as gain in ways that we might not have expected. So you're certainly contributing to those gains with this program. So tell us, Anita, what your plans, hopes, dreams, expectations are for this initiative. How would you like to see it grow?
Well, I hope that other people, I think this is like, like kind of the Margaret Mead thing that, you've got concerned citizens all over the world, and, is it a big project? No, it's a little tiny pilot. But I'm hoping to replicate the pilot in my district, and I have some people that are interested in doing that. But I'm hoping that if people hear this, they think, oh, how could I do the same thing? And it could be with teens and younger children, but it can also go in the opposite direction. There are many people in our collective, as you know, that we all sat at an appreciative inquiry summit in Fort Worth years ago. And I didn't meet the people in the collective then, but I was there, kind of a meant to be. And I remember one of the workshops that I was most awestruck by was a person in Singapore, and I don't recall her name. She was a leader, a strong leader in Singapore, the country. And she had asked herself a number of questions about concerns that she had. And she was very concerned about the elderly.
Mm.
And through the questions that she asked herself, she ended up creating a project where teenagers interviewed elderly people about adversities they had come through. And through those interviews, those teenagers ended up gaining knowledge and respect for the elderly, and the elderly ended up with the connection to the teenagers. So whether I'm saying, gosh, I think the teens would benefit from helping the little kids, or whether it's the teens interviewing the elderly, I think that there's a lot of potential for multi-generational support here
Right, right.
by these kinds of models.
Yeah. Because in reality, we're all in this together. And, families have gained or struggled through a new level of closeness from having to school from home, from having to, be in lockdowns, quarantines, and that many of those households are multi-generational. So that's a one way that we can open ourselves up to learning from each other. And in a school building or a school district, students of different ages, along with the teachers, the administrators, and combining that with the families. So you're right, lots of potential, lots of opportunity. And one of the things that I love most about our collective is that we are all in this together is our attitude, and we're trying. There's no quote right answer, and we're trying however we can to make make the world a better place through positive education, positive psychology. Um, and I just want to remind those who are watching that we have a website, resiliencenowforparents.org, where we have given the world tips each week. And all of our tips are archived on that site. These are tips for parents, and many of them can be used in the classroom as well for social emotional well-being. And we have a book which has additional advice and tips, very practical suggestions for how to help kids of all ages go back to school well. And I know that Anita will be continuing with her project, and people who are interested in knowing more about Anita's project and or may just want to know Anita, who's a really heartfelt, wonderful person who I've come to know and love, can contact her. Tell everybody how they can contact you directly and through our website.
So I think the best way, if you have questions and you're thinking about a project like this for yourself, delivering something like this yourself or with colleagues, you could email me at anitalifecoachnow@gmail.com. And also at the bottom of our Resilience Now page, you'll see the Anita Life Coach, and you can click on that, and that will bring you to similar information.
Okay.
But I think the Anita Life Coach now@gmail.com is the easiest way to get in touch with me.
Great. So email at anitalifecoachnow@gmail.com, or go to resiliencenowforparents.org, and we have an About Us page, and you can find Anita Andersen there. Do you have any final thoughts before we sign off for today, Anita?
Well, I am very grateful to the collective, as because we're trying to further access to these kinds of concepts, because I really do think it informs well-being, and people are in various stages and places with this, depending on how they've been impacted during the past year. And as you said, we're learning on so many levels. And while we were delivering this group, there were a number of times that the kids, as I was doing what we are doing right now, as I might be delivering program, they would help fine tune something with technology and say in a very respectful way, Miss Andersen, if you do this over here, then you'll be able to do the following. So I think that that's also, redefining for us. A lot of times we view the adult as teaching the child, but if you're open to learning, the children can teach you plenty, and my experience is that they're doing that with such respect and that's helping as well.
Yes. With that mind shift, hopefully that our education system will continue to learn and grow along with us as individuals, and we see hope for the future in programs and initiatives like this. So thank you again, Anita, for sharing your story with us today, and continue to look for us at resiliencenowforparents.org and on our Facebook page, Resilience Now for Parents. Okay, take care now, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Ellen. Thank you.